room was cold, filled with blue lights and the hum of strange machines. Behind the glass of an energy cell sat a man, the only human ever brought to the throne world of Xylaris. His name was Ryan Carter, an explorer from a far human colony. His uniform was torn, his hands bruised, but his eyes were calm. Too calm for a prisoner. Across the chamber, watching him like a hunter studying prey, stood Princess Leora of Xylaris, commander of the alien High Fleet. Her silver armor shimmered under the dim light, her eyes glowing faintly violet. To her, humans were unpredictable, emotional, and dangerous. She didn't trust him. She didn't even understand why he had risked his life to save one of her crashed patrols before being captured. Leora's voice was cold. "You came into forbidden space." "Why?" Ryan looked up slowly. His voice was quiet but firm. "I saw your people in trouble." "I helped." The princess tilted her head, confused. "Helped? You were not ordered." "You gained nothing." Ryan smiled faintly. "Not everything needs a reason." That answer made her pause. Aliens around her whispered. Among her kind, every action had purpose. Orders, rewards, rank. Selfless help was nonsense. She stepped closer to the cell, eyes sharp. "You expect me to believe you risked your life for strangers?" Ryan looked at her, calm as stone. "Yes, because that's what humans do." Her expression tightened. The human wasn't broken yet. Usually captives begged, cried, or cursed. This one sat still like a soldier waiting for the next sunrise. Hours passed. Leora ordered the guards to leave. She stood alone before the glass, studying him. The human was strong, not in muscle but in silence. She felt irritation, and something else she didn't like, curiosity. "You are not afraid?" she asked. He looked at her again. "Should I be?" "You are surrounded by enemies," she said. "Your species is weak. You could die here," he gave a small smile. "Then I'll die knowing I didn't let someone crash alone." Her heart gave a strange beat, one she hadn't felt before. She looked away quickly, covering it with anger. "You talk like a fool," Ryan shrugged. "Maybe, but fools build bridges while others build walls." Her fingers tightened. "You think we need your bridges, human?" Ryan said softly. "Everyone needs understanding. Even gods." The silence after his words felt heavy. The blue light around his cell flickered slightly, as if even the machines were listening. Later that night, Leora sat in her private chamber, watching the human on a hollow screen. He sat cross-legged, calm, eyes closed. No fear, no hate. Why? Every part of her mind wanted to understand him. Was this calmness an act or something deeper? Her aide entered. "Princess, the specimen refuses food and water." "Shall we force him?" She hesitated. "No, leave him," the aide frowned. "But Your Highness," I said, "leave him." Her tone cut like a blade. When the aide left, Leora leaned back in her seat. Something about this human disturbed her perfect order. A creature of emotion, but stronger than those ruled by logic. "Strange," she whispered. "He is strange." The next day she went down again. He was still there, still calm. She stopped in front of the glass. "You haven't eaten," she said. He opened his eyes. "I'm not hungry. Are you trying to die?" He smiled faintly. "I've seen death before. It doesn't scare me." Her hand brushed the control panel. "What does scare you then, human?" He looked at her with quiet eyes. "Losing myself. Becoming what I hate." She stepped closer. "And what do you hate?" "Cruelty," he said. "People who hurt others just because they can." Her breath caught for a moment. Those words hit too close. She had given cruel orders before, for the sake of power, for the Empire. She turned away sharply. "You know nothing of our world," he said softly. "Maybe not. But pain looks the same in every language." Hours later, she found herself pacing. She couldn't stop thinking about him. His calm voice, his quiet strength. Every time she tried to label him as an enemy, something inside whispered, "He's different." That night she returned again, alone. The chamber was silent. Ryan was awake. He looked up, meeting her gaze. "Why do you keep coming back, Princess?" he asked. Her lips curved faintly. "To understand why you don't fear me." He smiled softly. "Maybe because I don't see a monster. I see someone who hides pain behind armor." Her face froze. No one had ever dared speak to her like that. He stood and took one small step closer to the glass. "You wear armor because you think it protects you, but it also keeps people away." Leora stared at him. This fragile being who stood like a mirror to her own soul. Without thinking, she whispered, "Would you stay?" If I undress human? The question hung in the cold air, heavy and sharp. Her voice was steady, but her heart was racing. Ryan didn't flinch. He didn't move closer. He just said softly, "That depends, princess. Are you taking off your armor? Or your pride?" The silence that followed was deeper than any sound. For the first time in her life, Princess Leora of Xylaris didn't know who the prisoner truly was. Him. Or her. Leora couldn't sleep that night. The human's words echoed in her mind like soft thunder. Are you taking off your armor? Or your pride? She had spent her whole life behind armor. Not just metal, but silence, power, and fear. And yet a fragile being from a blue planet had seen straight through her. By dawn, she made a choice. If the human wanted honesty, she would show him what honesty looked like among her kind, through a test. When she entered the chamber again, the guards straightened. She wore her full royal armor, silver and gold, sharp as blades. The human was still in the energy cell, calm as always. "Ryan Carter," she said, her voice echoing. "Yes, princess?" he replied, his tone calm and respectful. "Your words last night, they were brave. Foolish, maybe, but brave," he nodded slightly. "Sometimes bravery and foolishness are the same." A small smile tugged at her lips. "Then let us see which one you are." She pressed a code on her wrist device. The guards' helmets lit up. "Leave us," she ordered. The guards hesitated. This was against royal protocol. But one look from her and they left. The massive door sealed shut behind her with a deep hiss. Now it was only her and him. Leora deactivated the glass field and stepped inside the containment chamber. For the first time, Ryan and the alien princess stood face to face, no barrier between them. He didn't move, didn't speak, just waited. Leora walked in slow circles around him, studying the strange softness of his features, so unlike the sharp, cold designs of her kind. His heart beat slow, steady. "Human," she said softly. "In my world, to expose yourself before another being is the ultimate test of control. It reveals whether they are ruled by respect or desire." Ryan didn't understand at first. "Expose yourself?" She turned, eyes gleaming. "If I remove my armor, will you stay still? Or will you prove me right? That humans are driven only by instinct and hunger." The words hung between them, dangerous and heavy. Ryan's throat tightened. He realized what she was trying to do, a psychological trap. A test to prove humans were weak, lustful, and unworthy of respect. He could have looked away, refused, argued. But he didn't. He just said quietly, "Do what you must, princess. My heart won't change." That answer, it caught her breath. Slowly, she reached up and unlatched her helmet. With a hiss, the metal lifted away, revealing a face both alien and beautiful, luminous skin with faint violet veins that glowed under her eyes. Her hair fell like silver mist. Her expression was proud, unreadable. Ryan blinked once. Then he looked away, not out of shame, but out of respect. "You don't have to do this," he said quietly. Her voice trembled. "I want to. I want to see the truth." She stepped closer, her armor pieces unlocking one by one. Shoulder plates, chest guard, wrist shields. Each clang of metal echoed like thunder in the silence. Ryan kept his eyes on the floor. The air between them grew thick, charged. Finally, Leora stopped, standing close enough to feel his warmth. Her voice was quiet but sharp. "Look at me, human. Look and show me who you are." Ryan raised his head. His eyes met hers, not her body but her eyes. And in that gaze was no desire, no mockery. Only gentleness, he said softly. "You are someone's daughter, someone's hope. You wear armor because your world demands it. But that doesn't make you less, it makes you stronger." Leora froze. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. She expected hunger. She found honor. She expected greed. She found peace. The princess who had conquered fleets suddenly felt conquered herself by kindness. Her eyes softened. You're not like the others I've met." Ryan smiled slightly. "Maybe that's what makes us human." For a moment, silence reigned. The hum of machines faded, and only the sound of two hearts, one human, one alien, filled the chamber. Then she took a step back, slowly reattaching her armor. Each piece sounded heavier now, as if it carried guilt. When her helmet clicked back into place, her voice had changed. It was no longer proud and cruel. It was quiet, almost human. "You passed my test," she said. Ryan tilted his head. I didn't know there was a test. There always is, she whispered. You showed restraint, compassion, things my kind have forgotten. He said softly, maybe it's time you remembered. Her breath caught again. She turned and walked toward the exit, but stopped at the door. Human, she said without looking back, you confuse me. He smiled faintly. Then maybe confusion is the first step to understanding. Outside, her guards looked at her strangely. Her usual pride seemed gone. One of them asked, Your Highness, did the human try to escape? Leora's voice was low. No, he did something far more dangerous. The guard frowned. What is that? She looked toward the chamber door and said softly, He made me feel. As she walked away, the alien halls that once felt powerful now seemed cold. Something inside her had changed, something she could no longer control. And for the first time in her life, Princess Leora of Xylaris whispered to herself, Maybe. The human is not the prisoner after all. The next day began in silence. Princess Leora did not visit the human. She told herself she was busy, but her mind betrayed her, returning again and again to that single moment when Ryan had looked at her and not seen a creature to fear or desire, but a person. It unsettled her. She had fought wars, commanded fleets, and yet one calm human had shaken her entire belief system. By the third night, curiosity defeated pride. She returned to the chamber. Ryan sat cross-legged again, eyes closed, breathing slow. The blue energy field shimmered between them. Leora stood outside the cell, watching. You meditate? She asked quietly. He opened one eye and smiled faintly. Helps me think. Helps me forget hunger. Her chest tightened. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. She turned to a nearby console and ordered food to be brought. He shook his head. Don't waste your supplies. I've survived worse. Her tone sharpened. You're stubborn, he smiled. Humans are good at that. Leora folded her arms. Your kind confuse me. You fight for strangers. You protect enemies. You speak of peace, yet your world is filled with war. Ryan's voice was soft but firm. Maybe that's what makes us human. We fight so that someday we don't have to. Her eyes flickered. She didn't expect such words. She walked closer to the glass. Do you hate me, human? He looked at her calmly. No, even after I locked you here. He nodded slowly. Hate is easy. Understanding is harder. The words hit her deeper than plasma fire. For the first time, she felt something strange, respect and shame. That night, she came again. No guards, no weapons, just her curiosity. Tell me about your world, she said. Ryan smiled slightly. It's noisy, messy, full of mistakes. But it's beautiful. We have oceans that glow under moonlight, forests older than our history, skies that never stop changing. Her voice softened. And your people? He laughed quietly. Complicated. We build cities, then destroy them. We love deeply, but we break hearts too easily. Still, we keep trying. Leora's eyes dimmed. Your world sounds alive. Ours is only efficient. We stopped trying long ago. Ryan tilted his head. That's sad. Her tone grew bitter. We had no choice. Empires can't survive on emotion. Maybe that's why they always fall, he said gently. She blinked, taken aback. You think your small world will outlast us? Ryan smiled. Not because we're stronger, but because we still feel. Hours passed as they spoke. About stars, about life, about loss. For the first time, Leora laughed. Quietly, awkwardly, but real. The sound startled Ryan. He smiled. You should do that more often. Her cheeks glowed faint violet, a rare sign of emotion among her kind. You mock me? No, he said. You sound alive when you laugh. She turned away, pretending to check a console, hiding the emotion rising in her chest. You speak too freely, human. He shrugged. Maybe that's why I'm in a cage. She almost smiled again. The next morning, the base trembled. An alarm blared and warning lights flashed crimson. Leora rushed into the chamber as smoke filled the halls. A reactor conduit had failed. Power was unstable. Stay inside, she ordered. Ryan stood, eyes narrowing. That's a coolant failure. You'll lose containment. She ignored him, typing commands into her wrist pad. Sparks burst from the ceiling. Ryan shouted, Leora! The vent system is blocked. It'll explode. Silence. She snapped, trying to reroute power. The ground shook violently. A beam collapsed behind her. Without thinking, Ryan rammed into the glass. Once, twice. The field flickered. "Stop," she shouted, but it was too late. He broke through, burning his arm in the energy. He ran straight toward her, covering her body as the wall behind them burst into flame. Smoke, heat, and chaos filled the air. He dragged her to the floor, shielding her from falling debris. When the shaking stopped, they lay side by side on the cold metal floor. Her armor was cracked, his arm scorched. She looked at him in disbelief. "You saved me?" He coughed weakly. "You looked like you needed help." She stared, speechless. "Why would you do that? You could have escaped." He smiled faintly. "Because I don't leave people to die." Her eyes glistened. "Even your captors?" He looked at her softly. "Even them." Later, when medics arrived, Leora ordered them to tend to him first. Her officers looked confused, but none dared question her. As they treated Ryan's wounds, Leora stood silently, watching him breathe. He had saved her life, a human who owed her nothing. One of the alien officers whispered, "He risked his life for you, Princess." "Why?" Leora's voice was quiet. "Because that's what humans do." That night, she stood outside the medical chamber, staring through the glass at the man resting inside. Something inside her chest ached, something she didn't have a word for. She placed a hand on the glass and whispered, "Maybe you're not the weak one, human. Maybe we are." Outside, the stars of Xylaris burned bright, cold, and distant, while inside that room, for the first time in her life, Princess Leora felt warmth. The medical wing of the alien citadel was quiet. Too quiet. Machines hummed softly. Lights glowed pale blue. And through the glass wall, Princess Leora watched Ryan sleep. His arm was bandaged, his face pale but calm. He looked peaceful even after nearly dying for her. For the first time in her life, she disobeyed the Empire's command. She had ordered that no one harm him again, not even for interrogation. Her advisors whispered that she was losing control. Maybe she was. When Ryan woke, he found Leora sitting near the door, staring at a glowing data pad. He smiled weakly. "Did I pass another test, Princess?" She looked up sharply, but her expression softened. "You broke protocol. You risked your life. You could have escaped," he chuckled faintly. "And miss your company?" "Never." Leora's lips twitched, almost a smile. "You humans are strange. You speak lightly even after pain." Ryan looked at her. "Pain teaches us. We joke to survive it." She tilted her head. "And what did you learn today?" "That not all walls are meant to keep enemies out," he said softly. "Some are built to keep hearts safe." Leora turned away quickly, pretending to read something. His words hit her harder than any weapon. That night she came again, quietly, without guards. She brought him food. Real food, not the sterile nutrient paste they gave prisoners. He blinked in surprise. "For me?" She nodded. "You need strength." Ryan smiled gently. "So do you," she raised a brow. "I am not the one in chains. Maybe not the kind you can see," he said. Her chest tightened. "You talk too much, human. And yet you keep coming back," he teased. For a heartbeat, she had no answer. Then she whispered, "Because I don't understand you." "Maybe you're not supposed to," he said softly. "You just feel it." Over the next few days, they spoke more about freedom, fear, and the stars. Ryan told her stories of his home, children playing in the rain, music in crowded streets, lovers dancing under electric lights. Leora listened in silence. Her world had no such warmth. Her people valued control, not laughter. Sometimes she asked strange questions. Do humans love easily? Do you ever forgive enemies? Would you die for someone you just met? Ryan's answers always made her heart twist. We love easily but deeply. We forgive because hate burns us first. And yes, sometimes one moment is enough to choose someone. One night while he slept, Leora sat near his bed and whispered, "How can something so fragile feel so strong?" But not everyone was blind. Her captain Vareth began to notice. "Your Highness," he warned, "the council grows restless. They see your compassion for the human as weakness." Leora replied calmly, "Then they misunderstand strength." Vareth frowned. "If the Emperor learns of this, I will deal with my father," she interrupted. "Leave the human out of this," he hesitated. "Princess, he is changing you." She met his eyes coldly. Maybe I needed to change. That night, Leora returned to Ryan's room again. He was awake, staring at the ceiling. She stood at the doorway. "You should rest," he smiled faintly. You should too. She walked closer, sitting beside his bed. Ryan, she said softly, if I undress again, not my armor but my pride, will you still stay? Ryan turned his head, meeting her glowing violet eyes. I'll stay, he said, if you learn to see, not just with your eyes but with your heart. Her breath caught. The words felt like light breaking through a frozen world. They sat there, neither speaking, just existing, two souls from different stars, connected by something beyond reason. But in the shadows outside the room, a hidden camera blinked red. A silent watcher, someone from the Royal Council, had seen everything. The next morning, whispers spread through the palace halls. The princess visits the human alone. She speaks with him for hours. She defies the emperor's command. By midday, the rumors reached the council chamber, and that evening Leora received a summons, one she had always feared. Her father, the emperor, had heard. Before leaving, she turned to Ryan, who was sitting on the bed. Something's coming, she said quietly. He looked at her, concerned. Then go face it, she shook her head. They'll demand your death, he smiled softly. If it comes to that, at least I'll die knowing I mattered. Her hands trembled. Don't say that. Ryan's voice was gentle. Sometimes the smallest kindness changes a whole world. She looked at him for a long moment, eyes shining faintly with violet light. Then she whispered, if they take you, I'll come for you. That night the stars above Xylaris burned bright and cold, watching silently as a storm began to form, one that would test loyalty, love, and the very soul of two worlds. The throne hall of Xylaris was a vast cathedral of cold light. Marble pillars stretched to the ceiling like frozen waves, and the air buzzed with restrained energy. The entire High Council was gathered, silent, waiting. At the center stood Princess Leora, her armor polished but her eyes tired. The Emperor and her father sat on the raised dais, his silver crown reflecting the hall's icy glow. His gaze was sharp, unreadable. Leora of House Vexen, he began, his deep voice echoing through the chamber. You have been accused of breaking imperial law, consorting with a lesser species, protecting a prisoner of war, and defying direct command. The words hit her like blades, but she didn't bow. Father, I acted with reason. The human saved my life. Enough! His voice cracked like thunder. He is not your equal. He is a specimen. A test subject, her throat tightened. He is more than that. He showed compassion when our kind would not. Gasps spread through the council rows. One elder hissed, blasphemy. She speaks like one of them. The Emperor rose slowly, his towering figure cloaked in black armor. You have forgotten what you are, Leora. Blood of the throne, bearer of our legacy. And yet you disgrace us. For a human. She lifted her head. If compassion is disgrace, then perhaps our legacy deserves to end. The silence that followed was heavier than gravity. At the far side of the hall, guards dragged Ryan into view. His wrists were bound in energy cuffs, his arms still bandaged. Even in chains, his eyes were calm, steady. The Emperor looked down at him with disgust. Human, do you deny manipulating my daughter? Ryan shook his head slowly. No, I didn't manipulate her. I just treated her like a person. The Emperor's lips curled. A person? You are an insect that crawled into our empire. Ryan met his gaze without fear. Then maybe your empire fears the truth. That kindness can't be chained. Leora stepped forward instinctively, but guards blocked her. Stop this. He did nothing wrong. Her father's voice roared across the chamber. Enough. For your defiance, your human will be executed at dawn. Leora's voice broke. No! The Emperor turned his cold eyes toward her. You will watch, and learn what happens when a princess forgets her place. That night, the sky above Xylaris rumbled with storm clouds. Leora stood in her quarters, trembling with rage and heartbreak. Her aide Vareth entered quietly. Your Highness, the execution is ordered. The guards, where is he now? She demanded, in the lower cells guarded by 10 sentinels. Her eyes flashed violet. Then we'll need 11. Vareth hesitated. You mean to free him? She nodded. If I don't, I'll lose the last piece of myself that's still alive. Meanwhile, in the dark prison cell, Ryan sat on the cold floor, staring at the faint blue light from outside. He could hear thunder above, the storm growing. He wasn't afraid. He had seen death before, but this time, It hurt to leave something unfinished. He closed his eyes and whispered, "Leora." "Don't come." The cell door hissed open. He opened his eyes. She stood there, armor half removed, cloak soaked in rain, breathing fast. "I told you not to come," he said quietly. She walked toward him. "And I told you I would," Ryan sighed. "They'll kill you for this." "Then let them," she said, unlocking his cuffs. "I'd rather die free than live ashamed." He caught her hand. "Leora, you don't have to do this for me." She looked into his eyes, her voice trembling. "I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it because of what you showed me. That strength isn't control. It's compassion." They ran through the corridors, alarms blaring behind them. Plasma bolts struck the walls as guards shouted. Ryan stumbled, injured, but Leora pulled him forward. "Almost there! The hangar!" A blast struck near them. Heat seared her shoulder. She turned, firing back with her blaster, shouting, "Go! I'll hold them." He shook his head. "Not without you!" Another explosion shook the hall. Leora fell to her knees, gripping her wound. Ryan lifted her, ignoring his own pain. "Why did you stay?" she gasped. He looked at her and smiled weakly. "Because I meant what I said. I don't leave people behind." Her eyes filled with tears. "Even if it cost you your life?" He grinned faintly. "That's the human way." They reached the hangar, a vast chamber filled with lightning and smoke. A single transport craft waited near the edge, engines warming, but as they ran toward it, a dark shape appeared in the doorway, the Emperor himself, flanked by soldiers. "Leora," his voice thundered, "you shame your bloodline one last time." Ryan stepped in front of her. "If you want her, you'll have to go through me." The Emperor laughed bitterly. "A human dares to stand before me?" Ryan's voice was calm. "No, a man dares to stand before a tyrant." The Emperor raised his weapon. "Then die like one," he fired. Leora shouted, "No!" Leaping forward, deflecting the blast with her arm plate. The energy scorched her armor, but she didn't stop. She aimed at the power grid above, firing one shot. The ceiling exploded, raining sparks and smoke. She grabbed Ryan's arm and dragged him into the craft. The Emperor's roar echoed as they launched into the storm. As the ship shot into the clouds, lightning flashed across the sky. Inside, Ryan slumped against the wall, blood seeping from his wound. Leora knelt beside him, her hands shaking. "Stay with me, please," he smiled faintly. "You saved me again," she shook her head. "No, you saved me. From myself." Outside, the storm parted. The stars appeared. Endless, free. Leora whispered, voice breaking. "Even if the whole empire hunts us, I'd still choose this moment." Ryan closed his eyes, whispering, "Then we already won." The ship vanished into the void, a trail of light fading across the night. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the viewport, cold, distant, and silent. Inside the small stolen transport ship, the hum of the engines mixed with the sound of rainwater dripping from Leora's armor. The storm of Xylaris was behind them, but another storm, one of guilt and fear, raged inside her. Ryan lay on the floor beside the control console, his shirt soaked with blood. Leora knelt beside him, her trembling hands pressing a medical patch to his side. The wound was deep. The Emperor's energy blast had gone through muscle and near his ribs. "Stay with me," she whispered. Ryan's breath was shallow but steady. "I'm not going anywhere. Not without you." Leora's throat tightened. "You should have run when you had the chance." He managed a faint smile. "And miss watching a princess defy an empire for me? Never." Despite the fear in her chest, she let out a small laugh, broken but real. The ship trembled as they entered hyperspace. The stars stretched into long lines of light. Leora glanced at the console. Warning lights blinked red. "The energy core is unstable," she muttered. Ryan opened one eye. "You stole a royal ship without checking the core?" She rolled her eyes. "I was busy saving a reckless human." He smiled faintly. "Fair trade." She glanced at him again, seeing how pale he'd become. "You're losing blood too fast." He looked up at her, eyes calm, voice quiet. "If I don't make it, promise me something." Her heart froze. "Don't." "Promise," he said softly. She shook her head, tears forming. "You will make it." Ryan smiled, eyes glimmering. "Then at least promise me. You'll keep fighting for what's right, not what's ordered." Her breath trembled. "I don't know if I can lead after this," he whispered. Then lead by being human. Those words hit deeper than any wound. Hours passed in silence. Leora piloted the ship toward an unknown star system, one without any signals or tracking beacons. A place the Empire would never search. Her mind replayed everything. The throne room, her father's rage, Ryan's calm defiance. Every word he'd said now echoed like truth in her mind. Strength isn't control. It's compassion. She looked back at him again. His breathing was weaker now. Panic gripped her heart. "Don't you dare die on me, human," she whispered. "Not after everything." His eyes fluttered open. "You're crying." She touched her cheek. A faint violet tear shimmered under her fingers. Among her kind, it was the mark of forbidden emotion. "I don't know what's happening to me." Ryan smiled weakly. "You're feeling. That's what's happening." She leaned close, pressing her forehead against his. "You changed everything, Ryan. I don't even recognize myself anymore." He whispered. "Then maybe that's the real you." Suddenly alarms blared. A proximity warning flashed on the console. 3 Royal interceptors had picked up their trail. "They found us," Leora said, gritting her teeth. Ryan forced himself to sit up. "Can you outrun them?" "Not for long." "Then let's give them something to chase," he said, pressing his hand over his wound. Leora looked at him in disbelief. "You can barely stand," he smiled faintly. "I don't need to stand to save you." He limped to the auxiliary control panel, typing commands into the ship's navigation system. "What are you doing?" she shouted. He didn't answer, just turned his head, smiling softly. "Buying you time. Ryan," she screamed, running to him. He locked the command panel with a passcode. "When I activate the manual override, one of us has to stay to control the decoy core manually." "It'll overload and detonate," her voice broke. "No, we'll find another way." He looked at her in a calm, kind, and heartbreakingly human. "Sometimes there isn't another way." She grabbed his shoulders. "I didn't save you just to lose you now." He cupped her face gently, his blood staining her armor. "You didn't save me. You showed me what it means to matter." Her tears fell freely now. "If you stay, I stay." He shook his head. "No, you have a future. Your people need the truth. Someone to remind them they still have hearts." She trembled. "You can't ask me to live without you." He smiled faintly. "Then don't live without me. Live for me." The ship shuddered as laser fire struck its wings. Alarm screamed. Ryan pressed a final command. "Core overload in 60 seconds, he turned to her. "Get to the escape pod." She refused to move. "Not unless you come." He leaned close, resting his forehead against hers once more. "If you ever doubt what love means, remember this moment." Then, before she could stop him, he pressed the emergency eject on her wrist device. A blast of energy surrounded her. The escape pod detached violently from the ship. She screamed his name, pounding on the pod window as her craft shot away into the stars. Through the small glass viewport, she saw the stolen ship, her ship, drift into the distance, fire blooming along its wings. "Ryan!" she cried, her voice breaking. A second later, the ship exploded, a burst of golden light tearing through the void, scattering the enemy interceptors. Her pod spun violently before stabilizing. And then, silence. Leora pressed her hand to the glass, sobbing softly. "Why did you stay?" Her whisper echoed in the dark. "Why did you stay, human?" And somewhere in the silence of space, the stars seemed to whisper back, "Because love isn't fear. It's choice." The escape pod drifted silently through the void, surrounded by the wreckage of stars and the faint golden dust left behind by Ryan's sacrifice. Princess Leora sat curled inside, her armor cracked, her hands shaking. The cold metal beneath her palms still held the warmth of his blood. Days passed. Her food supply was almost gone, and her ship's signal remained dark to avoid detection. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his face, calm, gentle, human. When her pod finally entered the atmosphere of a quiet blue-green planet, the system alarms woke her. The pod shook violently as it descended through thick clouds. Then impact, dust and wind, silence. Leora stumbled out, falling to her knees on soft ground. The sky above her glowed violet, a color she had never seen on any imperial world. The twin suns rose side by side, painting the land in shades of gold and purple. She whispered, her voice raw. "You found me a place to live." Even in death, didn't you? She built a small shelter using the pod's remains. Each night she sat under the twin suns, replaying Ryan's words in her mind. Lead by being human. Strength isn't control, it's compassion. Don't live without me, live for me. She began to understand what he meant. For the first time in her life, Leora, the proud daughter of the Emperor, felt small in a way that didn't hurt. She felt humble, alive. Weeks passed. Her injuries healed, though her heart remained wounded. She learned to hunt small creatures, gather fruit, and even laugh again at her own failures, something no royal had ever been taught to do. And one night, sitting by a fire, she spoke to the stars. Ryan Carter, she whispered, I don't know if humans believe in souls, but if they do, I hope yours can hear me. She looked up at the endless sky. You didn't just save me from my father. You saved me from myself. Her violet eyes glistened under the starlight. I once thought humans were weak, but your weakness was your strength, your ability to care, to forgive, to see beauty even in pain. The wind blew softly, as if answering her. Months later, Leora found an old beacon inside the pod's systems, a damaged holographic recorder. She repaired it slowly, using tools from the wreckage. When it finally powered up, a blue light shimmered, forming Ryan's image, a message he had recorded before the escape. If you're seeing this, it means I didn't make it. Don't cry, Leora. You once asked me why humans stay even when everything hurts. The truth is, love makes us stay. Love isn't about possession. It's about choice. It's about seeing someone at their worst and staying long enough to help them find their best. You made me believe that even in a universe full of cold stars, there can still be warmth. So promise me this, build something better. Show your people what humanity really means. The message ended, fading into silence. Leora sat frozen for a long time. Then she smiled through tears. I promise, Ryan. Years passed. The Empire searched for her but never found her. Rumors spread that the princess had died, that she'd betrayed her kind. But on the quiet world beneath the twin suns, a new settlement began to grow. A small colony where fugitives, travelers, and exiles found refuge. They called it New Dawn, and above its gate, carved in both human and alien script, were the words she chose. Strength is not in power, it is in compassion. Every morning, she stood at the hilltop watching the sunrise, the same golden purple light that had once witnessed her fall. Now it was her reminder that something beautiful could be born from loss. One morning, as the wind brushed through her silver hair, she whispered softly, Ryan, you once said love isn't fear and it's choice. I finally understand. She smiled faintly, eyes glowing with warmth. I choose to live. The suns rose higher, painting the land in gold and violet light, and as the wind carried her words into the sky, it almost sounded like another voice whispered back, and I choose to stay. In message. Humanity isn't measured by power or knowledge, but by compassion, respect, and the courage to choose kindness even when it hurts. Sometimes the bravest thing a person or a princess can do is not to conquer others, but to open their heart.